it's inconceivable that a white teacher would be teaching white children that they are evil because they're white. But that's what people think, even though it's blatantly false. Critical race theorists would be the first to say there are people battling and challenging racism. And then those are the people we should learn from. That people imagine that critical race theory is widely taught in schools. It's not even widely necessarily taught in law schools, where it originated, where people want it to be taught, let alone in elementary schools.
So this is Ibram X. Kendi. Henry Rogers is his original given name. I don't know if that's still his real name or not, but he changed his name to Ibram X. Kendi because having a white name if you're black is like super ultra racist. And I'm sure he got the X from somebody named Malcolm, Malcolm X. I don't know what the X actually stands for. There's a period next to it in his name, so maybe it stands for something that actually is black, but I don't think it is. And Ibram and Kendi, of course, I don't know if those are actual African names or not. They're probably not. He probably just thinks they sound African, so he he adopted them. Yeah, so Henry Rogers is an academic. He's a professor, actually, at some prestigious Ivy League university, I believe. I haven't checked in a while, so I don't remember off the top of my head. You can always Google him up and find out where he teaches. But he's, of course, lying about CRT because he's actually mastered the art of lying. That's really what he should have his PhD in, is lying. I want to take the moment to, of course, to thank everybody for stopping by and supporting my channel. I do appreciate everybody who are fans of mine, who, even if you hate watch my channel, great. Keep coming back. It's fine. You're allowed to dislike what I have to say. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're still subscribed. Check out my merchandise store. Links are in the description. You can use code EARLYBIRD for the next couple weeks to get a discount on stuff. I wish I had time to put out more designs. I just am pretty busy with my day job. But I want to go ahead and take a look at some other videos regarding CRT.
My name's Frank McCormick. I'm a high school history teacher in the largest high school in Illinois. I'm sick of watching schools lie to the American people. I'm going to expose my school district to show the American people what critical race theory looks like in education, and to illustrate their absolute dishonesty. I recently appeared on Fox News to talk about CRT in education. Not long after, a school board member in my district went on Facebook to publicly accuse me of being hate-motivated, doing the work of racism, and misinforming the public. So I have a choice to make. Option A, I stop this, I try to explain to her I'm not any of these things, I apologize and try to save my job and my pension. Then there's option B, expose her, expose my school district, burn my career to the ground, let's go Brandon. I choose option B, so let's go. Here's an email between a DEI consultant and my district's director of equity and inclusion. Here, critical race theory was specifically cited for a review and application. Maybe Ms. Gonzalez wasn't aware of that email. I'm misinforming the public. She obviously doesn't support critical race theory in the classroom. Oh, but wait, someone sent me private messages from her. In history classes, critical race theory should be introduced. I would definitely encourage it being introduced at the high school level. Whoops. Now let's look at what's going on in classrooms at my district. Students modeled the Black Panthers 10-point program to make their own 10-point program for a marginalized group. In literature class, students are asked to compare how South African apartheid compares to racism in America today. Here, Ibram Kendi, stamped from the beginning, is used in a U.S. history class. Studying cultural appropriation. A lesson objective requiring students to analyze the relationship between systemic racism, implicit bias, and mass incarceration. A lesson objective asking students to analyze the relationship between slave patrols, policing, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Yeah, that's real. Literature classes reading the Black Lives Matter-inspired novel, The Hate U Give. This book makes a comparison between slave masters and the police. Here's a fun one. Students were taught what social systems and social structures are. The example the teacher chose? The prison industrial complex is a system designed to keep white people in power to use black people as a source of unpaid labor. What? You know what? Forget it. One thing you may notice about these lessons and activities is they never ask the students, is there a relationship? It's, what is the relationship? It's basically teachers saying, here are my political beliefs, prove they're true. It's not a student's job to validate their teacher's political ideology. What I've just shown you is teaching through the lens of critical race theory. It's teaching through the assumptions that critical race theory is based upon. That America is systemically racist and that racism is not aberrative but normative. So a lot of times we hear that critical race theory isn't taught in schools. That's kind of true. The theory isn't taught. It's like the scientific method. When you go visit your doctor, he doesn't talk about the scientific method. He doesn't write about it. He uses it in his practice. Same thing here. So, who is the one misinforming the community now? You know, for 99% of teachers, calling them racist, calling them hate motivated, would have them begging for their jobs to be saved. They'd come crawling back. They'd beg for forgiveness. They'd say, I'm sorry, I'm not any of those things. I deny it. I recant. Not me. I'm not playing these games anymore. I've been quiet for 10 years. I refuse to spend one more day in silence. I've chosen to speak out because the public deserves to know what's going on. As a history teacher, I can tell you that this type of racial demagoguery only ends in tragedy. Racial identitarianism and the stratification of society into oppressed classes and oppressor classes are spells that once conjured cannot be controlled. That these ideas are being implanted in young minds is extremely dangerous. It's an abuse of the power and authority we vest in teachers. It's political grooming. If teachers don't speak out, if we don't stop this, it is going to create a social storm that will tear this country apart.
Okay, so, Henry Rogers is correct. Mr. Rogers, good job. It's not being taught in elementary schools, really. Well, this teacher here points out with evidence that it's being taught in high schools, so you really think it's not being taught in elementary schools as well? It's not being taught in junior high school? I'm betting that it is. So, you know this person. You love her, right? She's your new Supreme Court Justice in America. Ketanji Brown Jackson, because Ketanji, if it's not Ketanji, like if it was Elizabeth Brown Jackson, that would be racist because she's black and can't be an English name because, the bad whitey Englishes that only ended slavery in the Western world. At least they were the people who stood up and said, the first people who stood up and said, yeah, this is wrong, we got to stop this. They're all evil people. So if you had one of their English names, you would be just a hypocrite. What can I say? I don't know what to tell you.
Is that when you asked me whether or not this was taught in schools, critical race theory, my understanding is that critical race theory as an academic theory is taught in law schools, and to the extent that you were asking the question, I understood you to be addressing public schools. Georgetown Day School, just like the religious school that Justice Barrett was on the board of, is a private school.
Okay. Yeah, let's see a rebuttal to what she says. Not that we haven't already had a really good one, but why not just continue on with this trend?
And I just finished my freshman year at RHS. I've been a part of District 196 schools now for 10 years, and I'm going to give you a glimpse today of what's actually going on inside these schools. Despite the board's attempt to deny it, District 196 schools are quickly becoming a place where promoting activism is actually more important than promoting education. I'll take you back to my first day at RHS this fall. The principal came out and gave us a heartfelt speech about equality and standing together. He began to list countless races, such as Latino, Asian, expressing how much they matter and how important they are. But never once did he mention a race or identity that reflects me, or half the kids that were in the class. Now, members of the board, I know you haven't been to school in a while, and I know none of you, or most of you, don't have any kids left in the school district. But you must admit how uncomfortable it will be to be characterized just by your skin color on the first day of school, and be thought that you were wrong just because of your skin color. So I will never forget the look one of my friends gave me from across the room as we were sitting there listening to this blatant bias being expressed in the so-called equity statement by the leader of our school. To be clear, I don't need you to tell me that I matter, but hearing the condolences given to other races and leaving just one race out, inevitably you'll start to feel like you've done something wrong. And in our principal's attempt to unify us, he instead created unwarranted boundaries and barriers between his students, pitting us against each other based on characteristics that we can't control. In another separate instance, I was told that writing "All Lives Matter" on the whiteboard was political and could be seen as offensive. When I questioned the teacher after class, she told me that she didn't have an answer and she just had to erase it, and it was quickly erased. There are political signs all over RHS about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter, and specific perspectives that matter. But when I questioned the
So you hear that? Saying all lives matter, not okay. Saying Black Lives Matter, having posters around the school that support a given race that isn't white. All of them are about other races other than white. That's okay. Ridiculous.
RHS administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. And when I asked why that was, they told me, quote, whites have a pretty good situation right now, unquote.
Yeah, I go into LA on a regular basis because that's where my job is. Believe me, I see the tent cities. I see them. They're all over now. How many of those people living in those tent cities are white, do you suppose? It's a large percentage. A large percentage. I know because I see them. I see the tents. Yeah, there's other races occupying these tents. Almost all of them are either black or white people. There's very few Hispanic people. So, looks like we need to be Hispanic if we don't want to be homeless.
So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin. To be honest, after enduring a year of the people in charge telling me that I'm a racist and I'm privileged and pointing out our irreversible differences, I've never noticed race more. And it's becoming the first thing I notice when I meet someone, which has never before been the case. RHS administration confidently told me that RHS students and staff are happy with their equity statement. But from my experience in talking with other students, this is not the case. I know many kids who disagree with their teachers, but they're too scared to stand up because they're worried that their grades will be docked and their learning experience will be affected. My honors government teacher, I'm not going to say his name, but he's mentioned that Democrats care more about all people while Republicans only care about themselves. And he's also inferred to us that socialism is better than democracy. He even had a statue of a socialist leader in his classroom. I've been told by a lot of kids that they just stay silent and adjust their schoolwork to reflect an acceptable opinion to secure a good grade. I've been approached by multiple teachers who have told me in private that they just want to say that they agree with me and they support me standing up, but they can't say it in front of the class for fear of being disciplined by the administration in some way or losing their jobs. There is clearly only one way to think in this district, and that is that they are teaching their kids to shut up if they don't agree. Now, members of the board, I want you to take a good look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and ask, are you really standing up for the equality of all people, or are you just pushing a damaging political ideology on our students? A fellow coworker at my job, who by the way is of color, discreetly told me that the schools seem to be pushing a very leftist agenda in class. This proves that not everyone is happy with your school, and not everyone who isn't happy is white. Now, due to all these instances I've mentioned and many more that I can't fit in this 5-minute speech, I've decided to leave this district and continue school on a private Christian school online. And there will be sacrifices, and I will not get to walk in the graduation ceremony or attend milestones at RHS, but I will be able to learn in an environment that is not intent on punishing me daily for my skin color and political views. Now, regardless how you take my speech, whether you just shrug it off as malarkey or Fox News talking points, I encourage you to think about it. Because someday I'm going to be a leader. I may be the president, a governor, or just a professional golfer. But I will never stop believing that everybody has value, no matter their skin color or personal beliefs. And it's a shame that you're not going to be able to say that I was an alumni of RHS in District 196. Thank you.
Yeah, so this kid is doing the right thing. Yeah, this is at a high school. Again, it's not a grade school like Henry Rogers says. It's not happening in grade schools, but I'm sure that it is happening in grade schools. Why wouldn't it? If it's happening in high schools, why wouldn't it be happening in grade schools? Why wouldn't it be happening in junior high school? Let's move on to another video. Now, this is college, I believe.
Do serious justice works. And it's a strategy. It's a strategy to pretend that, like, all white people are individuals.
But we're not allowed to pretend that all black people, all Hispanic people, all Asian people, well, especially all black people and all Hispanic people, all Arabic people, are a monolith. We're supposed to be like, oh, they're individuals, especially when it comes to crime, because we see more crime amongst those groups than we do amongst whites and Asians as a percentage of the population. But all those are individuals. Those are just individual cases. That's not everybody. Not all.
Especially when you look at the wealth numbers.
So you're not saying we're all individuals? I never worked at Chick-fil-A. I'm Jewish, and I'm a member of the LGBT community.
Based. This dude just called out his teacher, his instructor at a college, right in the middle of his lecture.
And you're putting me in this group of people who supposedly work at Chick-fil-A. You're an instructor here. You teach a course, and you subject students to this kind of hateful-ass rhetoric.
What do I need to say about this? I mean, this kid is just awesome.
And I think it is a damn shame that people go to this university and you subject them to that. Have you ever looked at your Rate My Professor reviews? You subject people to negative rhetoric against white people when you don't know every white person that goes to this university. You don't know anybody's struggle.
You hear the girl in the background saying, all lives matter, sarcastically. All lives matter, all lives matter. Yeah, they do. What the hell is wrong with you?
Oh, we shouldn't talk about maybe we should do something on masculinity. Let's read every single man. No, like this is. I feel like this is a naive trope. I know that's where you're at. I'm at a different place.
You said that every suburban community in Georgia raises white supremacists.
Oh man, Yeah, so every suburban community in Georgia raises white supremacists. This, I lived in Georgia for 3 years and 3 months. I was about 3 years and 3 months too long. 3 years and 2 months too long. I was there long enough, believe me. And yeah, you get so much, there's so much spite towards the white people from the black people where I was living anyway. I mean, I can't speak for the whole state, but that's what it was like where I was living.
How can you possibly say that? You don't know what every white community in Georgia does. That is an extreme statement. That's an extreme statement.
You hear that girl in the background saying, "Is it?" Is referring to the extreme statement. She wholly believes that suburbs are creating white supremacists in Georgia. Really? Then why isn't there a race war in Georgia right now? Oh man.
I live in one too, and I didn't have the typical heterosexual. No, I'm talking now. I did not have the same heterosexual experience that people in these communities had. So how can you generalize me into this stereotype when you don't know my experiences?
So you just asked him a question. I was going to answer it. Okay.
I don't feel like he's answered my question at all. I didn't even.
Right. These people don't answer their questions. They just want to spew out their garbage as if it's the truth, and then everybody should just fall in line because they have this understanding in their head. They don't know how they got to that understanding because they don't remember how they got from point A to point B to point C all the way over to point Z where they're at now. And point Z is so convoluted because they went through all these other 26 steps to get there. And they're like, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense now. But it's like, no, you had convoluted steps along the way. You don't know what you're talking about.
Y'all yelled at me while I was trying to ask my question.
Well, so you just asked one. Now let him answer it. He can answer, and when he's done, you can ask another one. That sound good?
In the South, by covering the appearance of niceness with like actual thought and concern. And maybe I'm wrong in that, but I suspect people who've grown up here and consider themselves very Southern would agree that manners have a very complicated role in sustaining oppression, right? And if we're not going to talk about
manners, or he said mannerisms. I don't know. That's what it said on the bottom. I think, but it sounded to me like he said manners. Let me tell you, the rudest people I've ever been around were in Georgia. I mean, and that's not true, but the rudest people I've ever lived around was in Georgia. Like, if I'm from the north, so I didn't know their customs and their ways. So if I misstepped in any way, I was being yelled at and talked down to. It's like, you can have patience with somebody and go, oh, are you from around here, man? Yeah, we don't do that way around here. And this is how we do it. And like adults, like people in their 60s and 70s were doing this stuff, and people who were in their 20s were doing this stuff to me. So everybody in between, all levels of adulthood, were being disrespectful to me. So don't even start this crap with me.
And we're not going to talk about manners as a tool to cover, I feel like.
Oh, here's the clicking. We got the clicking. Yes. Oh, yes. You feel it. You feel the CRT running through your veins. It's the clicking.
There's nothing brave about coming to a room of people and saying things that they all agree with and that they're going to snap for when it's fucking wrong. What you say is wrong. You don't know everybody's experiences here. You don't. So how can you teach a class that is a prereq for some people to graduate, that is a requirement for some people to graduate, that they are subjected to taking, and you say such hateful ass stuff?
Totally based. This kid is on point. I don't know how old this person is, obviously. I mean, they're in college, so they could be 50. I don't know. It doesn't sound like he's that old. It sounds like he's in his early 20s at most. Yeah, so this is at all levels. At least we see examples here of high school. We see examples here of college. So let's go ahead and move on.
So this comment was put on a video that had absolutely...
So can you imagine having your teacher look like this? Holy crap. My kids would be pulled out of school instantaneously if I saw their teacher look like this.
absolutely nothing to do with politics, but let's dive in because teaching is political.
No, teaching is supposed to not be political in this country at all. We conflate politics and religion, right? You go to Thanksgiving dinner, don't talk politics, don't talk religion. We all know this. You don't bring up politics and religion in polite company. We all know this because politics basically is religion. It's your belief system. It's your belief system, your personal belief system. Now, politics might be based on a lot of factual stuff that we see happening, whereas religion is based purely on faith. But you don't bring that stuff to the classroom. This is not your political arena. It's fine if you want to talk about that stuff. I have no problem with it. If you want to be like, hey, look, here's the Democrats, here's the Republicans, this is how our system works. I mean, I had poli-sci or whatever it was when I was in school too. economics, and all that stuff, history, but I didn't go there and preach. I don't go to the school and preach as a teacher. I don't go and preach my point of view. If I even bring up something that is considered even remotely political in my classroom, I got to go talk to my supervisor, because like 50 students they spread the word, and all 50 go to my department head and complain that I'm talking about politics in the classroom.
Education system, the curriculum, school zoning, funding, standardized testing, all of these things can create and further lead to class and racial inequalities and impact life chances for our students.
Why are you talking about it with children? These are children you're talking about this with then. If you have a problem with this, you talk about it at the school board meetings with adults.
Especially as a history teacher, my students deserve...
Okay, so you're all tarded then, because you teach history. Actually, I can't say that because the first guy we looked at, he was a history teacher too. But from what I've seen of these, I don't want to be that guy, but the female history teachers don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't memorize dates. All the male history teachers I've spoken to, you can just be like, hey, what happened on this day? And they'll be like, oh, this and this and this throughout history on that very date, like March 12th. What happened on March 12th throughout history? And then they'll point out like historic events. The female history teachers I've seen, they can't do that. There's probably good ones out there who can, but in my experience, female history teachers don't know their ass from the hole in the ground.
Somebody who is going to confront and challenge the injustices and untruths that are in our history that have led to discrimination.
I mean, like 1619, that year when America was actually founded.
So yes, teaching is political because as we develop curriculum and have conversations with our students, equity and anti-racism need to be in the forefronts of our minds, as well as giving our kids the means to gather factual information and form their own opinion. But this is wildly different than indoctrination or propaganda because I'm not trying to sway my students' opinions.
You just said that you were, by teaching them the, quote, true history. The true history, like I said, 1619, is that what you're talking about? Look at her shirt. Her shirt is Native Americans. Within the background is Mount Rushmore. And there's a whole political thing about how, that land was stolen from Native Americans and it's been desecrated by these statues that have been put on the side of the hill there and all, et cetera, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we won. I mean, I'm sorry. It was a terrible tragedy, don't get me wrong. War is, but we won.
I want them to form their own educated opinions. What I'm doing is challenging a broken system and hopefully laying the groundwork for progress and justice.
Broken system. Yeah, the broken system that you think was founded in 1619 was actually founded in 1776. There's one more that I want to look at. This one is not CRT, but it's its tarded step sibling.
Transphobia is a serious illness, and unfortunately, there isn't a vaccine for it.
Are you sure that transphobia is the illness and not trans is the illness? I mean, and there's no vaccine for that. You look at his shirt, he's got the rainbow hammer and sickle on it. That says everything you need to know right there.
That's when I first witnessed transphobia. When a kid wearing a racist Make America Great Again hat made fun of me and said that me being myself was a Halloween costume.
This is an adult crying at what a child said to him. Just let that sink in.
The MAGA supporters. And even though Donald Trump is not in office, the disease of Trumpism has spread across our stolen land.
There it is again. Stolen land. No, we fought a war. It wasn't a conventional war, but we fought a war.
Every night I cry myself to sleep knowing that I live on stolen Native American land. As a high school teacher, I witnessed transphobia every single day. Racist bigots! We need...
Hey, look, he even brought in racism. What do you know?
Need to teach our students and raise awareness in our schools about this deadly virus. Transphobia is a spectrum, and it can go from transphobia to transphobia with many shades and flavors in between. But what degree of transphobic are you? We have the extreme transphobic, which is Trump supporters, Nazis, KKK, Bible thumpers who believe in a sky daddy, when we clearly know that we humans used to be monkeys and came from the Big Bang Theory, which is...
What? What did he just say? He just insulted my God, science. That's it. I'm going to find this guy. That's it. I'm finding him. We're going to have a freaking face-to-face conversation about him insulting my sky daddy.
proven science. Let's not forget, straight white males, those who say that a man will never be a woman, those who refuse to get vaccinated and obey the science. It's science, people! Obey the science! It's common basic biology!
Common basic biology does not include trans people. I know that that's an affront to your religion, sir, but it doesn't.
Just get the vaccine! You bigot! No! Is somebody laughing? No, we have those who are right in the middle. Are you that person who says, I have a gay friend or family member? Am I that gay friend? Do you refuse to get gender reassignment, therapy, surgery? The bottom of the spectrum is unconscious transphobia. This is anybody who is not transgender and refuses to be attracted to the same sex. I recently had a coworker who said that he was not transphobic. However, he refused to kiss me because he said he didn't swing that way. So if you didn't see yourself on the spectrum, that is the category that you are in.
Okay, then of course there's the rhetoric about how if you're not willing to be homosexual, you're transphobic, you're homophobic, etc., etc. Oh, wow. These are teachers. This person teaches high school. I didn't bring up any examples of this being in grade school or in junior high school, but I don't need to, because we know that these are the people who want to indoctrinate your children. We know that these are the people who want their point of view, think their point of view is the only possible point of view that is true. Only possible way of thinking about things. Look, I'm willing to entertain that I'm wrong about stuff. You might not think that, but I am. I've changed my mind on things. I've had to. I mean, we live around other people. If you can't change your mind, or if you can't just be like, okay, well, you can think that if you want to, I'll look into it, or I'm going to just think what I want to think because I've already looked into my point of view, and you're not going to agree with me ever because you're not using rational thought. Well, that's just how it is. Instead of standing on your pulpit and saying, hey, look, you must think the way that I think. Dun, dun, dun. No. We have to get along in this world. I mean, things are coming to a head, it seems like, so we'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and share, and I will see you in the next video.